I mean, I don't know why this trial is still going on. So
Jen.
I wanted to come on and talk about the Karen Reed hearing. It took me a while to absorb everything that happened. I had a suspicion from the start that Hank Brennan was doing something shady and sketchy, but I wasn't quite sure yet. And then after going over it a few times and then listening to a few of my favorite law tubers dissect it, it's really much worse than I thought for Hank Brennan. The way that he behaved, this is my opinion, and there are lawyers who are even stating this. They know the law. I know what ethical and moral looks like, but I don't know the law. They know the law. And the way he behaved was really bad, Hank Brennan. I believe wholeheartedly he knew what he was doing. He made that mistake on purpose to make the defense look like they were shady. And he started it earlier in the hearing when he decided to not object, but just wanted to let the court know how he felt about Mark Betterow. He knew he couldn't do a formal objection because the substance of his argument wouldn't qualify for it. And so he didn't make one because he knew it wouldn't work. So instead, he decided to tell Her Honor his advice, essentially, which is interesting because I don't know. I think if I was a judge, I wouldn't want to hear somebody else's advice. If you have something to say, put it in an affidavit or whatever. That was the beginning of it when he went in on how Karen Reed and Turtle Boy aren't co-defendants because remember, they tried to charge her and Turtle Boy with a conspiracy to intimidate witnesses. Don't forget about that. They couldn't make it work because they didn't conspire. What they did is what basically the founders of our country did. They wrote shit in newspapers and let other people know about it so that they could see what was going on over here. That's the First Amendment. So the Commonwealth of Massachusetts just doesn't like it that Turtle Boy is asking questions. They don't like it that Karen Reed and her attorneys are fighting back so hard. They don't like it. And they don't want anybody talking about it. After Hank Brennan said all those things about ARCA, it was like a three-tier takedown. He started with trying to make these allegations that Karen Reed and Turtle Boy were conspiring. Now, we all know that they tried to make that charge happen and it didn't stick. But the general public, if they're just tuning into this second trial and watching, they're getting obsessed with it. They don't know that, right? He's setting it up to not only make Mark Betterow look shady, make Karen Reed and Turtle Boy look shady, and make Tim Bradel look shady. He's casting aspersions on all of these attorneys. It's the way he talks. It's very controlled and meticulous. I haven't heard him change his tone. It's like a monotone, okay? And I said in the beginning when I first saw him, I was like, this guy's bothering me. It's coming off like I'm getting sociopath vibes. And I was like, no, first of all, I'm not diagnosing him as a sociopath, but those are the vibes. I'm sorry. People know what those vibes are. We've all been around people like that. And we're like, I am getting the fuck out of here. Right. So yeah, you know what I mean? Right. It's a thing. So I was getting those vibes from him. Like, no, I'm going to give him the benefit of the doubt. Make this video being so naive, thinking like he could actually be trying to uncover corruption, yada, yada, yada. And it's going to come forth soon enough. And this case is going to get dismissed. Now, I don't think it's going to get dismissed. I don't know Now, if even Judge Bev could see John O'Keefe get murdered by someone other than Karen and let her off. She'd see the video and be like, that's not admissible in court. I mean, that's how I feel right now with these people. It's literally how I feel. And what Hank Brennan did, it just shows they are not trying to do better. He is very sneaky. He's very sneaky. Yeah, so the 3 tiers. So he goes after all of Karen Reed and Turtle Boy's defense attorneys, casting doubt onto them as to their ethics. And remember, Tim Bradle's been practicing there in Yannetti for how long? Okay, so he does that. Then his next approach is to throw the defense under the bus by implying that they paid ARCA and didn't disclose it, and all these other bullshit things that are absolutely not true. People are all too happy in the general public who don't follow true crime to really just get that attitude with defense attorneys, like, oh, they're just, they're just scumbags. They just do that for money to represent people. It's only since I started watching so many trials that I really fully appreciate defense attorneys. And I've said it before, because defense attorneys are there to make sure that if you are in that chair being prosecuted, that none of your rights have been violated. Even if you're the worst kind of person in the world, they're still there, because if they're not there for the worst person in the world, they're not there for anybody else. That's what they're there for. That's not an easy task. Honestly, you have a strong moral compass for that. I mean, yes, there may be slimy defense attorneys, but there's slimy prosecutors, as we see in this case. So I don't think that's a trait that's particularly to one side or another in terms of attorneys. So Hank Brennan, that's not happening. He's not there to try to do anything helpful. The way he attacked these guys in court, he was just full hammer down. And he did it with a little smirk on his face and with the same tone in his voice. Let's just watch this for a second. This is where Auntie Bev had to have her moment to herself, okay? She's back there, I don't know, screaming into a pillow, funneling vodka, ferociously looking through oh, here she comes, okay.
Rebecca says you may be seated and enjoy cell phone off and put away.
All right. So the Commonwealth just provided the court with information that causes me grave concern. The implications of that information.
Now, let's just remember that at this point, Hank Brennan is sitting there and he knows that the reason she's so upset right now is because of something he said that was not true. He knows that. And he didn't try to run up to talk to her beforehand to make his mistake known. He's sitting there listening, just allowing her to continue to get upset. And he's not saying anything.
Information may have profound effects on this defense and defense counsel. So for that reason, I'm going to suspend today so that when we meet again to address these issues, all affected will be appropriately prepared. So I'll see you a week from today at 11 o'clock in the morning. You can tell me now if that is impossible for you.
I mean, she literally looks so angry, like angry cry angry. This is not helping people like Alan Jackson, who she's already hostile towards. Okay, I'm just going to say it. She's hostile. She's hostile towards the defense and has been. I've heard a few people ask, why do you think she got so upset? And they're coming up with all these elaborate reasons. I don't think it's that complicated. If you think of Judge Bev as a mom, okay, and she has 2 children, the defense and the prosecution are her children. And if you think of Judge Bev as a mom with narcissistic traits or whatever, she's going to demonize one child over the other. This is what these types of people do. They triangulate, right? So I just see it as she's like a mom who has her favorite, the prosecutor, and her her scapegoat, the defense. Okay. And so this is the type of person who will take out all their aggression on the defense. She's having a bad day, she's going to take it out on them. Anything goes wrong in the case, she's going to take it out on them. We have solo cups, a leaf blower. We have an inverted tape. This is fucked up, right, Judge Bab? But she's like, yep, but I'm just going to take it out on the defense even more. It's the same way a mother does it to a child. She's mad at something else and takes it out on the child. She's mad at another child and takes it out on the scapegoat. That's what she does. This is her mentality in this courtroom. And it's extraordinarily frustrating and it's very unfair. If anything, she should try to shift her aggressiveness towards the prosecution because they have the burden to bear and they're not producing shit. Okay. Like if you're going to be pissed because this case sucks so bad, why don't you direct it at the group who caused it? The prosecutor that is making your county look so corrupt. It's unbelievable. She's a judge. You need to get your shit together. And how old are you, by the way? She basically thinks that they lied about paying ARCA and yada, 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 yada. Her mind went there so fast, didn't it? She didn't ask any questions before she came back and just started saying the most damaging and prejudicial things against the defense. How's she going to come back from that? Because she was wrong. She was absolutely wrong. She should be recused. Honestly, she should not be on this trial. And I hope they file something about it because the way she handled this was wrong. First of all, you're angry and upset. Well, you better figure it out. How long you been a judge? I'm sure you've seen some crazy shit, had some crazy things done and said to you. You were a defense attorney before that. You should have a solid core. You should be resilient. So why was this so frustrating to you? And I don't think she was making it up. I mean, I think she truly was that angry. But it just shows how much she dislikes this defense. Again, think of the defense like a child. The child scapegoat she doesn't like. The child does nothing wrong and she's mean to the child. The child ends up doing something wrong because all children make mistakes. The child breaks her favorite vase. How angry is she going to be? Her anger is going to be so righteous because now for once she has a reason to be angry at the person she's been angry all along. That's what she is. That's how she operates. So she comes back with righteous anger simply because they did something wrong in her mind because Brennan misled her. She popped the fuck off and was so angry because finally the defense did something that she thought was morally reprehensible. Like when she says not so much hyperbole or settle down or simmer down, like whatever, that bothers me sometimes too, the hyperbole and stuff like that. But she's just been so brutal to this defense and they've handled it all with grace. And I just remember the time Yannetti stood up because he wanted to be heard at sidebar. And she's like, no, okay, fine. Like she literally said no at first. I hope they take that. They take all these little things. This is just unbelievable. All right, so let's play the rest. Sorry.
And
so all this time still now, Brennan has not corrected the record. Still hasn't corrected the record.
where Mr. Brennan, where the federal authorities have been kind enough in the past to allow me to have copies of everything, would you be kind enough to call over there or check with whomever you were dealing with to see if I can in fact get a copy of everything that you just read?
Okay, so here's this is just shows you what a scumbag Hank Brennan is. Okay, this is how much of a scumbag special prosecutor Hank Brennan is. He knows now when she went on the break, somehow he found out somebody tapped him on his shoulder or Alan Jackson said, yo, motherfucker, we gave you those. Okay, whatever it is, he knows now. Still has not corrected the record for this judge who is clearly pissed off. This kind of move is really fucked up, what he did. And now the only reason he brings it up, and this is how you know he's not sorry. He's not sorry and he did it on purpose, okay? Not sorry, did it on purpose. I'm all in on that. No more benefit of the doubt with this guy. You already you showed me who you are. Thank you. I see you. So basically, she's asking him, can you send me all those emails that you just read out loud to the class that threw me into like a fucking postmenopausal rage? Can you send me those emails that you got from the feds? Now we know already that he didn't get them from the feds, that the defense turned it over in discovery. So how's he going to answer? Just listen at how his voice, his tone, nothing even changes, and how he even has a little bit of a smirk on his face.
I can, and there's a brief chronology I think Your Honor should be aware of. If I could add that right now, it would take me less than a minute. The chronology is December 4th, we sent another tour request, 2024. January 6th, we filed our notice of intention to exclude ARCA experts. January 30th, 2025, the United States Attorney's Office sent a response.
He still hasn't said that, he still has not corrected the record for his mistake that just sent her, okay?
To both ours and the defense requests. Without any prompting, on February 6, 2025, the defense and the prosecution received an email from the U.S. Attorney's Office saying that the contract had ended with the ARCA experts and that if either party wanted to engage, the original materials are still protected.
Here's the timeline that I see what he's trying to allude, but it's not going to work. So he can fuck right off. But also, here's the timeline that I would have thought he should have presented before she had her as he fit. But that wasn't his intent. Okay. He had a very specific intent going in. He's the type of person, he studies people. He's studying his opponent. It's like the art of war. He's been studying his opponents.
This was a change in position about whether a party could engage. On February 11th, we filed the motion to exclude. February 13th, the defense provided us the emails that I read. February 13th, 2025, I think I said the federal government. It was the defense. February 13th, 2025, they sent us the emails and the direct examination outline. We reached out to the federal government again because I was curious about the change in position on February 6th, that the contract has ended, but that parties could contact ARCA. Obviously, the Commonwealth is in no position to contact ARCA because that would naturally preclude the defense from retaining them. So we've refrained and we will not reach out to them.
All right, so the information that was provided to you, not from the federal government, I'd like a copy of before you leave.
So at this point, right? Are they kidding me? She just got all wound up, and it's solely because of the emails. Solely because of the way the emails were presented. Not only making it look as if they were trying to like hide that they paid ARCA. To these ARCA guys, they had to shut down their website, their Twitter and everything because they were getting harassed so much on social media because Hank Brennan decided to go on here and make it look like they were shady. They had people calling their employers, Dr. Rentschler and Dr. Wolf. You think they're going to want to come back and testify now? Do you think anybody would want to come and testify now? Let's think about it. I would consider that witness intimidation more than anything. And that's what Turtle Boy said. That's exactly right. What kind of society do we want here? What Turtle Boy does, he's done in the past, and not just in this case. He's that in-your-face journalist. We've had them throughout our different cultural shifts. We've had them. We've always had them. Remember Geraldo Rivera? How about Howard Stern? Remember Howard Stern? Trying to think of a few others. Look at Alex Jones. Alex Jones fucking broke into a fucking occult ritual sacrifice. What was that, guys? Help me out. I'm trying to remember. I mean, but Alex Jones, right? I mean, this is what journalists have done. This is what their duty is. We just forget because we're used to the people we see on TV that are really just paid actors. They're not journalists. They're not doing the scoops. None of the people that are on TV talking about any of these fucking news stories are actually investigating the stories. They're just not. That's why it says for entertainment purposes on these all these news programs. Even the local news, unless you have like a really great place where it's not affected, but usually they're affiliated with the larger news and they have to spout the same bullshit that they're told to spout. So they're not actual journalists, right? Now, I like it when they have the lawyers or someone with expertise on, even if it's discussing politics. I like it when they have a balance of both sides. Usually they don't, so that's why I don't watch mainstream media. But somebody like Julie Grant, who is going on and just all in on Karen being guilty and applauding Hank Brennan when she's an attorney. She's not even looking, again, she has a bias. When you can't just look at the facts of something, you have a bias. You have to set the bias aside. Even now, if somebody gave me proof, I'd have to consider it for Karen Reed. But I know I would bet money that she's not. But you still need to be able to shift your frame sometimes because you don't, and you might, give the person a chance, look at the information, be like, yeah, nah, no thanks. But you should at least look. You should at least look because otherwise you're just hiding from yourself. And that's what a lot of these people do on these programs. And they're programmed to do it because the last thing the government wants us to do, local or national, is have people on TV pointing out how people's rights are being completely trampled over on a daily fucking basis in this criminal justice system. They don't want people to talk about it because a lot of people already know it because they've been in it or their family member's been in it or a friend was in it. Those people know, right? But the people that don't know, and there's a lot of people that do, but the people that don't, they're just going to be, oh yeah, It's like living in a 50s mindset, like a 1950s mindset. If you are fully capable of watching mainstream news and being okay with it. I feel like you're just like in the 1950s before like Kennedy got shot, before all these big betrayals from our government, right? It's like the ideal time, right? Like right around there. So, Hank Brennan did all of this on purpose, executed flawlessly. He's not worried about any pushback. That's clear. He would have never pulled a stunt like that if he thought he was going to get pushback from the judge. And he has studied this judge. He has studied his opponents. Didn't he say he was watching tapes of Karen interviews? I wouldn't doubt it. I bet you on his off time, he is just watching Unetti. And I don't believe that he didn't see the first trial. I don't believe it for a fucking second. He's just trying to act like, yeah, I don't need to watch that. That's the past or whatever, right? Bullshit, I call bullshit. He is watching how they argue, what their style is, what triggers them. He's watching all of that shit. He is planning right now. He has no moral compass for the truth. He is solely now focused on winning, and that's it. Now, I don't know why I thought he was different, but he's not, and it's okay. I'm glad I still give people the benefit of the doubt until they really prove me wrong, but I definitely have my suspicions. Just like with Judge Hippler in the Idaho case, I've now decided that he's also heavily prosecutorial biased. So, again, had my hopes, but that's what happens. It's okay that it's like that. It really is. That's how we learn things. So, but yeah, this whole thing is just such a big mess and brought so much problem. And Hank achieved his PR success over this 4-day break. Like they're not even going to be back in court now until Tuesday. So this whole time we had this like we had this like shift, I could feel like the shift, like of yay, like the other side got a score. Like that's literally how it felt, right? That's what this has come down to for some people who are mentally unstable. Let's just be honest. Um, because I believe in Karen Reed's innocence. I want to go up to one of the standouts soon because I did visit Canton recently. Um, so I'm very invested at this point, and so, but I'm not going to go dox anybody or say nasty things about people. You know what I'm saying? I'm not going to do that because they think that she's guilty, right? Like that's the part I don't understand. If someone doesn't agree with you, why do you care so much? Like, if you have such belief and faith in your position, why do you care if somebody disagrees with you? Why? What is the dip? Like, I don't get it. Like this guy, what's his? I was gonna say Kevin from Boston, but it's the cottage shelf guy, right? He's so negative. It's like a negative vortex over there. I go over there to see maybe if I can get a different perspective. Now I stopped this like a year ago, but when I did, he's just so, first of all, he's not very bright. He's not bright and he thinks he's brighter than everybody else. So it makes him a little dangerous. And he makes claims that are not logical, although that's what he says they are. So it's really kind of confusing from that standpoint. Um, and he puts down people who are part of this free Karen Reed movement. And that pisses me off. I'm so tired of hearing him put down the people that are in this movement. Okay? As much as these people might have said things, or like when Buchanan walked by and Turtle Boy's in his face calling him a piece of shit and an asshole, and these people are cheering, they have a right to do that. That's what we're here for, guys. We're in America. Remember, we're not in England anymore. Thank God we aren't, because they're pretty much going back to the way they used to be. But over here in America, that's why we came here. We are rebel rousers. We've got it in our soul. That's the purpose. And it's like public shaming or tarring and feathering. Sometimes it's got to be done. Sometimes it just has to be done. And so, that kind of stuff, for people like Buchanan, right? Hey, if Buchanan ended up charging Turtle Boy, that's one of his witness intimidation things, which is fucking hilarious because Buchanan is a cop who has a gun on his hip when all this is happening, but he felt intimidated. I don't believe it. I don't believe it. So, but like, if he's solid in who he is and what he's doing and all this other shit, who cares what those people think? Get in your car, drive the fuck away. If they hit you or they damage your property, that's a different story. But if they're just yelling shit at you, what are you crying about? That's a you problem, Buchanan. That's a you problem, Jen McCabe. That's a you problem, Matt McCabe. That's a you problem, Chris Albert. It's a you problem because people are talking. Well, you know what? There's a lot of sketchy behavior going on here. And you guys don't want to fill in any of the blanks. You guys could have told your story. And if it's the truth, it would ring so loud and clear and true, the people would just stop bothering you. You haven't done that. You can't do that because there's too many things to cover up and hide. There's too much shit that you could mess up that they could use later if you go to trial. You guys can't do it. And so you're being publicly shamed. I don't endorse anybody bullying or harming or threatening people. It's not what I'm saying. I'm just saying that the Free Karen Reed movement is really something very special. And for people to berate those people that stand outside who know how important these kind of things are, God bless those people, honestly. It gives me hope. And that's why I like Turtle Boy, you know? He's hilarious, actually, Turtle Boy. Like, he's too funny. And I don't think he has any malicious intent. He just says exactly what he's thinking and what a lot of other people are thinking, but are afraid to say. And he deals with the consequences, you know? But he shouldn't be going to jail. So let me just show you this, because these guys are my favorite bromance on LawTube.
Or do you wait until you're going to be able to hear it?
Judge Carroll, that's right. Okay. You're not doing your job. I'm sorry. I get it. I understand that you're angry, but part of it is
Yes, but if
disposition
she
ability
can't
here.
do her job at
And
that point because she's angry,
then
then
that's
her
judicial ethics.
responsibility.
Don't be a fucking judge, right? Why the fuck are you being a judge right now?
Or do you wait until you're going to be able to hear it?
Judge Carroll, that's right. Okay. You're not doing your job. I'm sorry. I get it. I understand that you're angry, but part of it is
Yes, but if
disposition
she
ability
can't
here.
do her job at
And
that point because she's
then
angry,
then
then
that's
her
judicial ethics.
responsibility is to not
is to
do
stop
it
the
right
proceedings, but then stop the proceedings and don't take the material back in chambers and review it. Leave the material at your bench.
then.
Because that's the problem. She suspended proceedings and took the shit back with her in chambers and reviewed it. I have a problem with that because that's one side of certain materials. That's a half image that she's now reviewing separately after listening to one side of the argument in chambers. No response. At the very least, what she should have done is given a verbal caution to defense counsel and said, I have concerns with what I read. Now, given those concerns and the fact that those concerns exist specifically around representations made to this court, I'm going to ask if you want to give her a response now, knowing that you have no obligation to give a response right now. I will give you the opportunity to put something in writing, but if you wish to respond to address one or any of these other concerns, you will have the opportunity to do so. I am not okay with suspending the hearing. And here's the thing. We're all big boys and big girls. You get up, you make representations. What should have happened is at that moment, she came back. One, she shouldn't have taken the materials off the bench and reviewed them. Two, when she came back and took the bench again, she should have, one, Brennan should have been up there at the fucking podium making the correction before she started talking, have the balls and cut her off and say, I'm sorry, Judge, I made a misrepresentation about the source of these materials. And instead, Brennan waits till she's halfway done with her monologue and then says, I have a correction on timing. Fuck off, Brennan. You got to be kidding me. That's not a misrepresentation on timing. That is the source of the materials which form the entire crux of your argument. And then Bev gets up there, and you better believe that if the first thing out of my mouth would have been counsel just misrepresented to this court the source of the materials that they are now trying to use to hang the attorneys that are sitting at this table.
So I'm going to stop there because I don't want to play too much of their channel. They have a 4-hour live stream. And if you're interested in Karen Reed, I think you'd really be interested in their whole conversation. Ian Runkle, I think a lot of people who followed Turtle Boy are aware that he is, following the case. And I personally like him. A lot of people like him. He's very funny and interesting and bright. And then Rob, it's his LawTube bestie. Like, they're friends in real life. They're really great together. I love watching them laugh and stuff. Rob from Law and Lumber, who is a very busy private practice attorney, I think in family law. So this is the first time he's been on in a while, and he was just so mad about this hearing. And, that's where I got some of the perspectives from, because when I heard him, I'm like, yes, that makes sense to me. It's also because he's practicing in law, and so they know the customs, they know what they're capable of doing. Well, when I watch some of these hearings, I'm like, I feel like somebody should have said something before this. And so he helped clarify that for me, that yes, an ethical attorney who made an honest mistake would have immediately, I mean, think of yourself if you made a mistake like that, like, and somebody's about to get like in a fucked up situation because of a mistake you just made. Are you just going to sit there and watch while it happens? While the person just gets like devoured by Judge Bev? You're just going to sit there, right, Hank Brennan? Didn't feel the need to correct the record even then. And in fact, didn't correct the record until the judge asked you for a copy of the emails. And then you pop up with your timeline and just kind of add in the middle there somewhere that, oh, and that the defense sent those emails. That was like a footnote on what you were talking about. Instead, it should have been like the headline, right? The headline where you run your ass over to the podium in embarrassment. But that moment has long since passed. It's all gone now. Can't take it back. Won't take it back anyway. And what is the defense going to come in with? What he did, he should get sanctions for. That was so egregious what he did. And he knows it. And he doesn't care. He wants to win. And he just shifted some people's opinions in the past 4 or 5 days with this little bullshit he pulled. He just shifted the opinion polls a little bit. Now, it's so overwhelmingly for Karen Read's innocence that I don't believe it's going to make any dent long term. And maybe he won a small battle here, but he will not win the war. He will not win the war. So enjoy your little fun there for the past few days, Hank. Sitting back smiling how you duped the defense and the judge and other gullible people. That ARCA is somehow lacking in ethics and integrity. Like that they're just so hard up for money that they're going to like do some sort of like business dealing with Karen Read's defense attorneys off the table because they're just so fucked up with their money, right? Because they're not already making millions of dollars. They got to worry about pennies from Karen Read, 25,000. That's nothing to these people. But that's what Hank Brennan wants you to think. He wants you to think that Alan Jackson or David Unetti has so little interest or concern about maintaining their professional reputation and, in fact, even their law license. He wants us to think that. But we know better. That's the gaslight here. That's the confusion. It's confusion and chaos. And he whipped it all up. And he made a fucking cake. And Auntie Bev choked on it. Okay? That's what the fuck happened here. So I am really looking forward to these guys coming back and laying down the law. I hope they strike across the bow. Okay? We need a warning shot. We need a warning shot. If he passes this, Hank, they're going to come in on Tuesday hot, all right? They're going to come in hot. I think they're going to be controlled though. But no, they're going to be sharp. They're wordsmithing this shit up right now. Their words are going to be like tiny little daggers all over you, Hank Brennan. All over you and all over this Commonwealth. You're right. Hank Brennan said, Your Honor, the Commonwealth is on trial. You're right, Hank Brennan. The Commonwealth is on fucking trial. Glad you noticed. So yeah, just get ready for those daggers to be spit all over, up and down the courtroom as they just destroy all that shit and undo all of that shit. You know, because there was a big momentum going there for a little while. We kept getting more and more crazy shit, right? The video, the travel to get there, come back, it's not there, all the other bullshit, okay? All of that. building momentum because they are going to be filing a motion to dismiss. And so we were on a pretty good roll there, but Hank had other plans for the weekend. Hank was ready to make it rain. Hank is only happy when it rains. That's the kind of guy he is. So let's just take a listen to these guys. Here's another clip.
Bev gets on the bench. Sorry, my camera stopped working for some reason. It kicked me out of the studio. You know what should have happened right here?
So the Commonwealth just provided the court.
If I'm Hank Brennan, I'm at the podium. The second that she's walking in. And before she starts talking, Your Honor, before we begin, I have to make a correction.
Yeah.
The fact that you may be seated, make your cell phone off, put it
I love Rob. I mean, and I believe him. And honestly, I think that's what all good people would do. But Hank Brennan doesn't seem like he's such a good person right now to me.
Not possible. Dog, send hearing before the voir dire. We watched the hearing. But reading the emails from Jackson from 622 after the voir dire, and the defense sent it to them. Yep, I know. Lola, the good dog, let's drive down Conspiracy Road. Hank was either set up by co-counsel McLaughlin or is working as double agent for defense. That would be fun. The double agent for defense it's not possible. He wouldn't be doing that.
I mean, it's a fun notion, but it's not a realistic notion. It's like, you know, what if Hank was secretly a bunny in a person suit? You know, it's fun to think of the idea, but we know he's not.
Not possible.
Freaking love Runkle too. So there you see they're two. he's so fucking funny. Hank was a bunny wearing a person suit. Anyway, well, I hope you guys enjoyed this. And I will be releasing some more stuff soon. I still have the trip. Leslie and I went to Canton, so I'm going to work on that a little bit more, and then I'll get it out to you guys. Hope you all have a good night. Thanks for being here. Get it, Grandpa. Get it, Grandpa. Bye, guys.